Hey everyone, it's Jürgen here from Polymash, and I'm the founder or co-founder of Polymash along with my lovely wife Robin. And what we're here to talk about today is the Podcasting Resources Guide, something that we've been working on really since 2014. It's had a bunch of different iterations from its humble beginnings as a PDF file to then being a web page on our main site on Polymash. And this last few months, we've been working very hard on making it its own resource website for podcasters specifically. So I'm very excited about it, and wanted to share and do a little walkthrough with you guys today. Now, before we get started, I wanted to just tell you where you can find us on Facebook at Polymash, on Instagram at Polymash Design, and we also have a YouTube channel called the Podcast Growth Channel. Just look that up. Also, before we do the walkthrough, I thought I'd mention a few giveaways and goodies for PodFest this year. We're so fortunate to be back and sponsored again. We love the community. We love everything that Chris has created here. And so a couple of things. If you stick around for the walkthrough, at the end, I want to give you a free bonus download of optimized show notes article template that we use to get the most out of publishing show notes. Also, our flagship course is 50% off. I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. And we also provide consultation sessions that are very popular. We've helped over 100 podcasters last year. Just ask some of the folks that have gone through it. And that's less than $20 now. So, with that, let me launch into the Podcasting Resources Guide. So it's really a curation of resources, tools, guides, gear, and platforms in over 20 different categories that we have come across in our journey and in our clients' journey as podcasters. And so before we look into it a little bit more detail, I wanted to just maybe begin with some frequently asked questions that we get. First of all, is it free? Yes, it's free. It's entirely without any costs, but there is a registration. And why register? Is in order to get the most out of it, from the ability to save your own resources lists, to be able to comment and be in touch with us. It's great to create an account on there so that you can save and have your own presence on the resources guide and sort of collect the things that are meaningful for you. Because we're going to be over 300 resources soon, and it gets hard to keep track of. So building your own lists on what's relevant for your stage of the podcasting journey is the primary benefit. But also, we would love to hear from you. There are reviews, and there are a whole number of other functions that you get to unlock just by setting up a free account. What is Polymash? Well, we are a digital strategy agency with a focus on podcasting as a form of content strategy. We've started Polymash in 2010 and started focusing on podcasting for our clients at about 2014. And we've launched dozens of shows. Our clients range all the way from the United Nations and Pfizer down to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and indie podcasters that we've helped over the years. So another question that's come up is there a podcast for this? Well, yes, I was trying to launch one, and then something happened. I just wanted to share with you real quick on the Podcasting Resources Guide. If you actually look, there's a link for where the podcast lives, and my co-host had to pull out due to illness just on short notice. So right now, I'm actually looking for a podcast co-host, and if you can think of anyone, help me out. And more importantly, maybe is it even a good idea to do another podcast about podcasting? I know that we have quite a few podcasts about podcasting out there, and the format of this show is that we discuss individual resources in the context of why are they helpful, why are they good, why do we like them, what do we maybe feel are areas of improvement. But yeah, that's we're very excited about doing that. So let me know. It's just a single click survey. Anybody can take it. I'd really appreciate your input as like, hey, would you listen to something like this, or is it one too many? Either way, I'd love getting feedback. So Also, if you guys have comments or anything that you want to contribute, ideas for resources, things that we should be featuring, things that we should be doing different, I would love to hear from you. Just get in touch through the Hova app or through the, or anywhere on our site. So with that, let's dive in a little bit into the guide in terms of navigation, search, filters, and some information about it. So I'm going to switch over to our guide view here again. And as you can see, we sort of created the navigation experience to be a number of different categories, or broken down into a number of different product categories that are optimized for both new podcasters as well as experienced podcasters. So there's some advanced topics like innovation or monetization or or promotion, marketing, SEO that maybe right in the beginning are not as critical as when you're first trying to launch a podcast. So we try to accommodate both. And as I said, we aim to be the largest guide of this sort. And I think we might already be. We're over 200 resources now. And I think very soon, we'll be in the 300 range. So the guide keeps evolving. Therefore, the navigation is a little bit tricky. So we do have a search and filter, so you can actually search and further refine your criteria through filters. And, if you look at the filters, there's quite a few of those that basically wind up augmenting your overall search. But when you do click on one of these categories, it then comes up with the search results that are in this category. And really what we're trying to do here is I use our remote interview starter bundle. This is a list of curated resources that we've put together. And, and we feel that we're trying to provide a lot of guidance. So this isn't just about affiliate links. This isn't about just, trying to get you buy stuff. That's not what we're here for. Really, this, in terms of a community resource, we try to put some thought into, why these particular pieces of gear are good for a beginner podcaster or an advanced podcaster or certain situations. The fact that these are dynamic mics, affordable audio interfaces, closed headphones versus open headphones. So we try to provide insights and values. We can't do that for all 300 things that we throw up there, but we do that for most. And, we go and revisit often, and we would love to hear feedback from you in terms of what your thoughts are on the guide, on the resources, how you would use them, what you like about them, what you dislike about them. And we have our own perspective on it, having produced, a lot of shows for our clients. So, with that, if you wanted a little bit more resources, a little bit more information about the guide, please jump to the About page, and we go into sort of the details around our thinking of these different categories that are available. And then lastly, if you want to support the guide, look, we've spent a lot of money building it, and it's been a labor of love for us. If you want to support the guide, please buy us a cup of coffee. The guide remains free. I'm intending to keep it free, but any little bit of help that you could, if you like it, if it's useful for you, feel free to let us know that in this way. Good. So, well, when you have this many resources to share, we thought we would also introduce this concept of a guided search. And that is when we actually go and highlight some resources for new podcasters versus experienced podcasters. We also thought a lot of people ask us, well, what do you use for your clients? What are your recommendations? And we've collected that under Polymash faves. And so then also you can ask a question through the guided search. Well, what is the guided search? Let me just show you. There is on the Podcasting Resources Guide homepage, there is a blue button called Guide Me. And so that should be fairly obvious. Let me get rid of my own image here. So when you click on the Guide Me button, what happens is a little bot widget basically pops up that helps us walk through. And this is where information about new podcasters, for example, or for new podcasters, we touch upon launch tutorials, gear guides, how to create intro and outro music and where to find it, designing cover art, podcast recording software, picking a podcast host, and sort of launching and promoting and directories that you wind up submitting a podcast to. So the typical sequence that you wind up going through as a new podcaster, we try to put these resources together here. So for example, launch tutorials, there's a few of them and it's an ever-growing list, but so we've really narrowed down the guide to become meaningful through this guided search. I hope that makes sense. And so also, if I go back to experienced podcasters, we focused more on marketing and SEO and innovation tools that are coming out there that, allow us to take our podcast to the next level. And maybe also guesting. That's one of the best ways to grow your show, is to appear on other people's podcast, monetization. So like I said, this is all a work in progress. Here are the Polymash favorite tools. If you have a question you want to ask us, you can send us any input, question, or feedback that you might have about the guide. And that's what the guided search is there for. If we're going on and look at the detail views, that's where you can leave a comment. That's where we have some chat and also the ability to leave reviews. But the most useful feature, I think, is the ability to build your own favorite list. So how does that work? Let me just demonstrate that. So if we go into, for example, let's go back into podcasting gear, for example. Excuse me. Just click on that. And and if you look at any of the pieces of gear that are highlighted here, if you want to save this to your own resources list, there is this little favorite button over here on the right top side of the screen. And this is where you can simply click and it adds it to your own personalized list of resources. Where do you then find that list? Well, there's a menu bar up here. And when you click on my favorites, it then basically opens up the list of favorite resources that you can save using this tool. So I hope that is going to be a useful feature. So that basically covered how to add and view favorites. I wanted to, as I mentioned in the beginning, just talk about the podcast SEO course and also our consultations, which are 85% off for PodFest. Just a little bit more detail on that. This is a course on how to make your website contribute to your discoverability for your show. Our clients are getting 60% of their new subscribers through Google search, because not everyone searches through apps or are already avid podcast listeners. We want to make it so that our client's business and website, podcast website or business website, is discoverable on Google. And when people see that they have a podcast, they then subscribe. I've spoken about this at PodFest before. We call this flipping the script, but it's been a very effective way of growing a show. So our flagship SEO course is 50% off. And if you create an account on Podcasting Resources Guide, it actually will enter you or will offer you an entry. We give away 3 of these at the end of PodFest on Friday. We're raffling off 3 of these courses, but in the meantime, they're 50% off for everyone. Also, drastically reduced this week for PodFest is our marketing and growth consultations. These, like I said, are very popular. We've had over 100 podcasters with these, and they're only $20. So if you are curious about how to get the most out of your launch or your marketing or how to grow your podcast, that's a pretty affordable session. Lastly, we do offer ads if you're a service provider in the podcasting space and want to get in front of podcasters. We're getting some 7,000 people visiting our primary sites, and they trickle over to the Podcasting Resources Guide. We also rank for about 2,500 keywords on Google search near the top of the search results. And so it's a pretty good way of getting in front of a large podcast audience. If you have any suggestions on where we should take this guide, what we're missing, what you would do differently, or anything that you want to share with us, we would love to hear back from you. So please let us know. And lastly, if you've got an idea for a co-host for the Podcasting Resources Guide show, I am actively looking for someone. So if you have any thoughts on that, there's a button in the Podcast Growth Show page where you can leave me a comment. So with that, again, I appreciate you making the time here. looking through the podcasting resources guide. Before we go, just the bonus download that I mentioned at the beginning. The annotated show note template is basically how we create an SEO optimized show notes and what we watch out for in terms of conversion and list building and getting people to subscribe to your show, not just on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, but also actually sign up to your email list on your own website. That is an area of focus for us. So with that, I'll take some questions and, thank you so much.